Title: Doc's Dilemma. Setting: it's 1864, a year after the Band of Five pulled off their audacious heist, and the stolen Confederate gold has scattered them across the West. Elias Doc Carter, the explosives expert and former field surgeon, has been laying low, using his knowledge of medicine and death to survive in a land where trust is a rare commodity. But fate has a cruel sense of humor, and Elias is about to face the one person he swore he'd let die, his former commanding officer from the Union Army. Scene 1: The Doctor's Rest. A light rain falls over a remote outpost on the edge of the Wyoming Territory, nestled between jagged cliffs and dense forest. Inside the weather-beaten saloon, Elias Doc Carter sits alone at a corner table, staring into a half-empty glass of whiskey. His once pristine surgeon's hands are now calloused and scarred from years of detonating dynamite, and his mind, once dedicated to saving lives, is haunted by the many he's taken since leaving the war. A man stumbles into the saloon, his face pale and panic-stricken. He scans the room, eyes landing on Elias. "Doc, they say you're a doctor, right?" Elias doesn't look up. He's long given up that title. "My brother, he's been shot. We need your help." Still silent, Elias takes a slow sip of whiskey. The man's desperation grows. "He's dying." Elias' eyes flicker with cold indifference. "Ain't my problem." But then the name slips from the man's mouth, freezing Elias in place. His name's Captain Mason, Frank Mason. The whiskey glass cracks in Elias's grip, his jaw tightening as memories surge. Blood, screaming soldiers, the battlefield in Tennessee. Captain Frank Mason was the one who ordered Elias to patch up wounded men just so they could be sent back into battle, knowing most of them wouldn't survive. When Elias refused, trying to save lives instead of prolonging their suffering, Mason branded him a traitor to the Union cause. And now, Mason needed him. "I swore I'd let that bastard die," Elias mutters under his breath. The man looks at him, confused but hopeful. "Please, Doc, you're the only one who can help him." Elias sets down his glass, eyes dark with resolve. "Take me to him." Scene 2: Ghosts of the Past. They ride out into the wilderness, the rain turning to a cold drizzle as the night deepens. The man leads Elias to an old mining shack hidden in a ravine, where a small fire burns dimly inside. Captain Frank Mason lies on the ground, blood-soaked bandages wrapped haphazardly around his abdomen. His once proud and arrogant face is now pale and gaunt, and his breathing is shallow. The sight of Mason stirs something deep and conflicted in Elias. This is the man who cost him his career as a respected surgeon, who drove him to the brink of madness. Yet as he looks at the wounded captain, Elias can't help but feel the old instincts, the healer inside him, stirring back to life. Mason's eyes flutter open, and when he sees Elias standing over him, a faint smirk twists on his lips. "Doc, thought I'd never see you again." Elias crouches next to him, inspecting the wound. "You should be dead." Mason chuckles weakly, coughing up blood. "Maybe I deserve to be, but looks like you're still in the business of fixing broken men, after all." Elias's hands hover over his medical bag, filled with the tools he hasn't used for years. He could save Mason's life, but he remembers the last time he tried to save men like this, men who had no qualms about sending boys to die for causes they barely understood. "I swore I'd never help you again," Elias says, his voice cold. "You ruined too many lives." Mason coughs again, wincing. "I don't need your forgiveness. Just fix me up, and I'll be gone." Elias's mind races. He could walk away. He could let Mason bleed out in this filthy shack, just as the captain had left countless men to die on the battlefield. But something deep inside won't let him. It's not for Mason, it's for himself. A twisted sense of duty. Reluctantly, Elias grabs his surgical tools. Scene 3: Field Surgery. As the rain picks up outside, Elias works quickly, his hands moving with the precision of the surgeon he once was. The bullet has lodged itself dangerously close to Mason's spine, and the surgery is delicate. Sweat beads on Elias's forehead as he cuts through flesh, digging deeper to extract the lead. Mason groans in pain, barely conscious. "You were always the best, Doc. I knew you'd save me." Elias grits his teeth. "Shut up." For a moment, it all comes rushing back. Tent hospitals on the battlefield, the cries of dying soldiers, the unbearable weight of playing God with life and death. He had sworn off saving men like Mason, men who didn't deserve saving. But here he was, doing it again. The bullet finally comes free, and Elias quickly stitches the wound, wrapping fresh bandages around Mason's torso. The captain's breathing steadies, and he drifts into unconsciousness. Elias stands, lays, wiping the blood from his hands. You'll live, he mutters, though part of him wishes otherwise. Scene 4. The unwelcome truth. As Elias packs up his tools, the man who brought him watches anxiously from the corner. Thank you, Doc. I knew you wouldn't let him die. Elias turns to him, eyes sharp. What's your stake in this? The man hesitates, then swallows hard. He's my brother. After the war, he got mixed up with the wrong crowd. He's been running gold for the Confederates, making deals with outlaws. I just wanted to help him get clean. Elias freezes. Gold? Confederate gold? The man nods. Yeah, stolen gold. I heard he had something to do with a big heist down south. A lot of people want him dead. Elias's heart sinks. The realization hits like a hammer to the chest. Captain Mason had been involved in the Confederate gold transport he and the Band of Five had stolen from, and now Mason was a key to secrets that could unravel the entire heist. If Mason lived, he might lead others to the Band of Five and their share of the gold. It suddenly becomes clear why Elias had been drawn back here. This wasn't just about saving a life. It was about the gold, the consequences of their actions, and keeping the secret buried. Elias stands over Mason's unconscious body, torn between two paths. He could kill Mason right now and end the threat, or he could let him live and deal with the fallout later. Scene 5. The Reckoning. Elias walks outside, the rain pounding against the earth. He stands at the edge of the ravine, wrestling with his decision. He was a doctor once, sworn to save lives. But now, after all he had done, was there any point in holding on to those ideals? Behind him, Mason stirs, coughing weakly. Doc, Elias' hand hovers near his gun. He could silence Mason forever. No one would ever know. The war had already taken so much from him. What was one more life? But deep down, Elias knows the truth. If he killed Mason, he'd be no better than the men who destroyed him. And so, with a final glance back, Elias holsters his gun and walks away, leaving Mason to his fate. As he rides out of the ravine, Elias knows that this is far from over. The gold, the heist, the sins of the past, they would catch up with him, just as they had with Mason. But for now, he had made his choice. He was still a doctor, after all.